Hi everyone, my name's Jamie and I'm 17 years old, and about 2 years ago I was diagnosed with McCune-Albright Syndrome with polycystic fibrous dysplasia. And when I tell a lot of people that, they're kind of like, well, what did you just say? Is that really a disorder? And yeah, it really is a disorder. It actually affects in 1 out of 100,000 people in the United States and 1 in every 1 million people worldwide. McCune-Albright syndrome is basically a syndrome. It's a disorder that affects your bones, skin, and several hormone-producing endocrine tissues. So basically, I get these things called cafe au lait spots, and they're kind of like little brown spots on your body. I don't know if you can see this, but I have some right here. There's about 3 right here. I also have one on my left breast, and I also have one in my on my stomach. The first time I noticed that I had mine on my stomach was when I was about 11 years old, and I thought, oh, maybe it's just a beauty mark. Like, I never thought anything about it. I also got my period when I was 10 years old, and I didn't think anything about that either. Like, yeah, it was a little early, but I didn't worry about it too much. I look like a normal person, and I act like a normal person, but I get stress fractures a lot, which really, really, really sucks because I'm a very athletic person and I like to participate in a lot of activities. I've done soccer and softball and volleyball when I was younger, and I did gymnastics, and it never really affected me. But when I was playing soccer and I was in about 5th grade, I noticed I had this bone in my leg that I could pop in and out, and it was really weird to me because I didn't think that was normal. I didn't really say anything about it at first because it didn't hurt, but in about 6th grade, it started to hurt really bad, and I noticed it was getting bigger. When I got it checked out, my doctor told me that I had an osteochondroma. An osteochondroma is an extra bone, it's a bone tumor, and it was about the size of a 50-cent piece. So it was about that big in my leg. And I had surgery and I had it removed, and they told me I had a 0.001% chance of it coming back. And so I didn't really worry about that, and I never really had any problems with it coming back or anything like that. Well, when I was in school, I did track in 7th grade, and that's when I got my first stress fracture in my left femur. And of course, the doctors just figured, oh, she's running on a track. Like, lots of people get stress fractures, you're running on a track, it's a hard surface, whatever. So we just kind of put it off. Well, then the next year when I was playing soccer, I got another stress fracture in the exact same spot. Again, they were just like, okay, she's been running a lot, she's doing soccer. It's kind of weird that she got it in the same spot, but whatever, we'll just put her on crutches again, whatever. Well, I noticed that from 6th grade to my freshman year, I didn't grow at all. I know you can't really tell from this video, but I'm not very big. I'm only 4'10" and a half. And this is me. This is how I've been since I was in 6th grade. Like, I'm not getting any bigger. And so when I was a freshman, I was playing softball and I got another stress fracture. And I was like, this is ridiculous. Why does this keep happening? And I knew it was a stress fracture. I've already had 2, and I just went to the doctor and I was like, you might as well just put me on crutches. It's another stress fracture. It's whatever. Like, I know it's a stress fracture. I've already had them. Well, the doctor suggested that I get a bone scan. So when I got my bone scan results back, I got something I really didn't expect. They found that I had 3 lesions in my body. I had one in my right tibia, one in my left femur, and one behind my left eye. I've always had bad vision, but I didn't think it would be caused from my lesion. In my left eye, I actually am almost legally blind, and in my right eye, I have bad vision, but it's not as bad. So I use contacts or glasses, and right now I have contacts in. Without them in, I can't see at all. So they went on, and when they found these 3 lesions, they thought, well, that's not normal at all. So I went on for about a year and a half, going on through testings, getting CAT scans, MRIs, blood tests, urine tests, any kind of test you can possibly imagine. I got my whole body checked out, x-rays, whatever. I got everything. And I just felt like a little lab rat. Like, people couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. And it was so frustrating to find out that I had these lesions and I had no idea. We went and saw supposedly the best bone doctor in Nebraska, and he told me to not worry about it unless I get another stress fracture. As long as they don't bother me, whatever, it'll be fine. Well, my mom is a doctor, and she was like, this isn't right. We need a second opinion. That can't be right. So we went and saw another doctor named Dr. Lutz, and he's kind of weird. He has bugged out eyes, and he's like cross-eyed and stuff. He's he's loony. And well, he came to the conclusion that I have McCune-Albright Syndrome with polycystic fibrous dysplasia. The polycystic fibrous dysplasia is the lesions in my body. That explains the lesions in my body. It's basically my bones break down and reproduce tissue like bone structure, so my bones aren't as strong as other people's bones. So it's kind of like osteoporosis, but not quite. With McCune-Albright syndrome, that explains my capillary spots and also explains my early puberty. I get frequent migraines behind my left eye because of my lesion in my left eye, and that really, really sucks because, like, the medication doesn't really help for me. And Dr. Lutz prescribed me to take bisphosphate every 3 months in an infusion. So I take an overnight infusion, and the first night I had to take it in the hospital, and it was horrible. It was just the worst feeling in the world to know that I was going to be doing this for the rest of my life, and there's no cure for McCune-Albright syndrome. You can only help the process get a little bit better, but you can't cure it. And that was the hardest part for me. I've tried to look at it as in, okay, this is a disease, it could be worse, and I just need to deal with it and get over it and move on with my life. But now that I'm a freshman in college and I've had this disease and I've had it my whole life and I didn't know, I'm trying to do competitive cheer in college, and I try and tumble and stunt and everything, but my stress fractures keep coming back. And it's so frustrating because nobody really understands. So that's why I'm kind of making this video, so people can understand McCune-Albright syndrome with polycystic fibrous dysplasia. So I'm just going to read you off a couple of things that I found on the internet that go along with McCune-Albright syndrome. McCune-Albright syndrome is caused by mutation in the GNAS gene. The gene provides instructions for making one part of protein complex called the guanine nucleotide binding protein, or G protein. In a process called signal transduction, G protein triggers a complex network of signaling pathways that ultimately influence many cell functions by regulating the activity of hormones. The protein produces the NAS gene to stimulate the activity of enzymes called adylate cyclase. NAS gene mutations that cause McCune-Albright syndrome result in a G protein that causes the adylate cyclase enzyme to be constantly turned on or constitutively activated. Constitutive activated of the adylate cyclase enzyme lead to overproduction of several hormones, resulting in the signs of symptoms of McCune-Albright syndrome. So that's basically what happened when I was in the womb of my mom. When I asked the doctor if this could be carried on to my children, it was very upsetting to find out that I have a 50-50 chance of being able to have a child. One of the things that most people would like to do is have their own children, but since I have a 50-50 chance of giving the gene to my kid, they can get one of my cells and it can go into them and they won't be able to reproduce their bones. So they won't grow and they won't function right, and that will cause me to have a miscarriage. I also have a 50% chance that they won't get that cell and that I can get pregnant, but I can also have problems in my pregnancy. Some other things that I found is just, like, usually it happens, so usually, like, some people have bone abnormalities, so they'll have bigger faces or disformed heads and stuff like that. And thankfully, I don't have that, and I do look like a normal person. But some people, you can just tell when you look at them. And I guess I don't really know if mine's severe or mild, but I do get quite a few stress fractures, and that, again, like, that is just so hard for me because I want to do everything else that everybody else can do. Another thing is that um, my lymph node glands and my thyroid glands are always swollen, and every time I go to the doctor, they tell me my heart rate is really fast. And a lot of times when your heart rate is fast, it just means you're active. Well, actually, my heart rate is above average, and it's part of my disease. So I get really bad anxiety all the time, and it's because my heart rate is rapidly moving all the time, way faster than anybody else. Sometimes with McCune-Albright syndrome, you can get Cushing syndrome, which I don't have, but it causes weight gain in the face and upper body, and slowed growth in children, fragile skin, fatigue, and other health problems. I do have the slowed growth, obviously, since I'm only 4'10", but I don't have Cushing syndrome. The only reason why I'm so small is because my bones just didn't reproduce healthy bones, so it didn't allow them to grow like normal people's bones. It kind of sucks because when I do get a stress fracture, this means that my bones won't reproduce healthy bone, so they don't heal as fast as normal people. So when I take 2 weeks out to not practice for cheer, it's kind of like a normal person not practicing for an hour, which doesn't give me any help at all. So when normal people are on crutches when they have a stress fracture for like 2 to 3 months, I'm on mine for about 5 to 7 months, which kind of sucks. This is my 5th stress fracture that I've had since I've been diagnosed with McCune-Albright syndrome. I hope that this video really helped you understand McCune-Albright syndrome with polycystic fibrous dysplasia, and I hope you get a better knowledge of what it's like to go through this. And if you know anybody who has this syndrome, since it's so rare, or you know anybody who's had kids, I'd really, really, really like to know how having kids has affected them, if they have it, or if they can even have kids, because I'd really like to have kids when I get older. Thanks, and subscribe. Thanks.